Over the last 20 years, we've been running a company that focuses predominantly on delivering service to companies. But it's really become apparent to me, particularly over the last 10 years or so, that you can give loyalty to companies, but companies are never loyal back, right? Companies are just entities that structure or put together or put a framework around, an operation. The loyalty that you get comes from the people within. So it's important that we've got to remember that we don't work for companies, we work for people. And it's also important to remember that if you're in the training game, that your goal is to work with those people. They're your customers, not the company ultimately. So one thing that's really coming to mind for me, particularly over the last couple of months, is that my real focus moving forward is on the development of individuals. The companies are beneficiaries of any development or coaching or improvements that we make in the skills and the attitudes and aptitudes and capabilities of the people we work with. But predominantly, we need to be working with those people. So my focus is now on mentoring people, coaching people, developing a whole bunch of things associated with their skill and their attitude and their thinking, that enables them to develop incredible careers. And I've been fortunate enough to, have learned some things over the last 44 years of my working life around what makes a individual stand out, what gets people employed, what gets people jobs over others. And that would be my, real focus over the next or coming 3 to 5 years. So what I want to do in this quick podcast or video is leave you with 5 thinking points, I guess. They could almost be principles that relate to things that would separate you from the pack, but ultimately enhance yourself in terms of your career development. And let's face it, a lot of people think that they want to be an entrepreneur, or they want to leave and they want to be self-employed, but the grass is not always greener over there. And a lot of people will be employed for the rest of their life, and there's nothing wrong with that. Having a strong career in a company, is a pretty cool thing. So here's 5 things or 5 thought points that I want to leave you with. Number 1, work like you're earning twice as much, because pretty soon you will be. This is a thinking practice that I've had for my entire life. Those words were said to me way back in the late 70s, and they've stuck with me ever since. And what I realized was that everyone else around me, they were working, basically on the basis of what they were given at that point in time. So if we paid you, $10 an hour, then they were delivering $10 an hour worth of value, and nothing more. And therein lies the problem. It's that more that separates you from the rest. And what I have learned is that holds true, because I've worked like that my entire life. I work like I'm earning twice as much, and suddenly you find that you are. Number 2, take responsibility for meaning. And what this means ultimately is that when you're communicating to people, you have to take responsibility for the meaning that they take away from your communication. A lot of people blame the recipient for misinterpreting or getting the message wrong, when in fact the most effective people, the most successful people are those who recognize that the way that they communicate the information is where the error lies. So if the meaning that is taken from a particular communication that you deliver is incorrect or different from the one that you intended, then you take responsibility for that and change the message. It's as simple as that. Number 3, you've got to make a decision whether you want to be right or in a relationship. This is really important from personal one-on-one relationship, one-on-group relationship, whether it be at home or whether it be in the workplace. And a lot of people want to be right all the time, but right is nothing more than a perception. And what I've learned over the years is that sometimes you just got to listen and shut up, right? And even if you think the other person or the other people are incorrect in their view, you should just listen, because there's a time for a relationship and there's a time for arguing your point. And sometimes you've got to decide between being right in your mind or being in a relationship. The 4th thing, continual improvement is a core skill. Your ability to close gaps between where you are and where you need to be, right, is foundational in you standing out from the rest. And a lot of people, can a lot of these methodologies around improvement, whether they be Lean or Six Sigma or Agile or systematic problem solving or ICAM or whatever the methodology might be. But your skills in those areas are going to separate you from the pack. because people who can solve problems, people who can close gaps between where we are today and where we need to be, are really going to stand out from the rest. And the skills beyond your current trade or particular expertise are the things that separate you from the rest. And I'll leave you at the fifth one, and that is chase problems. This relates to the one before about continual improvement, but the point or the difference between this and the previous one is this. If you're chasing problems, a lot of people think problems are a problem for them. Well, no, they're not. Problems are nothing more than opportunities for you to stand out from the pack. When you develop a CV, when you populate that with content, your separation from other people is going to be based on the problems you solved. So when you tell people what value you add to the business, I would bet that when you run through your CV, you're going to identify all of the problems you solved and the differences you made. So the thing that you need to be chasing are those problems. If someone comes up to you and says, listen, we got this problem area, don't walk away from it or shy away from it. You want to grab those and run with them with two hands, because that is what's going to populate your CV, and that is what's going to stand you out from the rest. I always say to people that I would rather take on the challenge where things aren't running very well than take on an organisation or a function where it's just running sweetly and beautifully, because in those situations, it might be highly likely that you go backwards, and that now puts you in a perilous position from a career perspective. So chase those problems, see them as opportunities. They are the things that differentiate you from everyone else and stand you out from the pack. So there you have it. There's 5 things to think about. I'll catch you in the next video or the next podcast or whatever it is that we're talking about. Go out and have a great career. Catch you later.